Apologies. Bring to order the regular board meeting of the Emeryville Unified School District Board of Trustees. May I have roll call, please?
President Dice.
Present.
Member Simon. Member DeWitt.
And just before we start, I really appreciate everyone's patience. I apologize. I have been sick since Thursday, and it's not leaving me yet. So with that, I won't even, don't come close. But with that, if we could all please now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we move on to item C, approval of agenda. I know we moved some things around.
Yes, we have. We'd like to make a couple of changes on the agenda. We're going to pull item 6 and also the closed session,
6.
the ECCL update
Oh, I6.
under discussion.
I6, okay.
And then we're going to pull the closed session, and then we are going to reorder I discussion items to read 1, 2, 4, 5, 3. And just this is just in case any of the action items, if you're not feeling well and need to leave, we want to make sure that those approvals happen.
I
So-
appreciate it.
Okay.
You guys can work with that. Any questions?
And that's
I think
that's it.
we might note, I want to acknowledge your service coming in when you're sick, because we have one school board member who's on her honeymoon and another who's at a conference out of town for work. So just so the public knows, we're volunteers, and sometimes the rest of life impinges on our service. But I appreciate you coming in when you really ought to be in bed.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay.
So with that adjustments or amendment, can I get a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Easy. No objections from me. So we'll move as according to what was laid out in item D, which is a wonderful item, and I'm glad I'm here to be here to see this happen. Recognition of Dave Martinez.
Yes, so tonight we have the opportunity to celebrate and appreciate the contributions of one of our, what we call our celebrity citizen, Dave Martinez. Prior to his family's recent move to Richmond, he had been a long-time Emeryville resident and PTO president and founding member of the Dad's Club, and just an all-around community oversight king, and very, very involved in the Emeryville community and the EUSD community. In a letter that Dave sent us on August 27th, he wrote to the board that he wants everyone to know that it has been a very fulfilling experience working with everyone in the district and on the Community Oversight Committee. He also said that he's learned a lot and shall carry that knowledge with him wherever he goes, and he wishes to thank everyone for welcoming him with open arms to the Emeryville community. And he also says that he's going to make sure that he maintains those connections. And Dave, the Emeryville, on behalf of the Emeryville Unified School District, I'd just like to say that the school community is better because of you and because of citizens like you. And on a personal note, you're one of the first people that I met when I came to Emery Unified, and I want to thank you for your kindness, your enduring spirit, and the support and the contributions that you and your family have made to EUSD. So if you could please come up, and I think that Trustee Dice, yes, Trustee Simon has something to give you because she doesn't want to touch it.
Well, that he wanted to make sure that we were only giving you the certificate,
Yes.
and not the little friends who are slowing her down. So I'd like to present you with this certificate, and unfortunately, there's no certificate great enough to express our thanks for your support of our kids and your great community work. Running a school requires an enormous amount of volunteer work, and you were really a model, and we want to acknowledge your great role. And on a personal note, on times when my spirit flagged, it's really your leadership that kept me going. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey.
Well, I mean, it's an honor knowing all of you, and yeah, like I said in the letter, you know, it was enriching experience for me, you know, and my family has grown since being in Emeryville, so thank you all for just your warmth and friendship.
Don't leave. Don't leave. It's not over yet. We have one more. The city of Emeryville also would like to acknowledge you tonight. And Kevin is here from Park and Rec. He has a proclamation for you that he would like to read.
Thanks, Deborah. So I'm here on behalf of the City of Emeryville. Unfortunately, tonight's meeting ran up against a mayor's conference, so basically all of our staff are over there. But I actually jumped at the chance to offer this. Working with Dave over the years in the Community Services Department, he's always been one of our biggest allies as a parent and just as a community member to make sure whatever we're doing the best job we can. He was always there to cheer us on and also give ideas, and it's just been great. You're already missed, and so I'm going to go ahead and start reading this. This is from the Mayor of Emeryville, City of Emeryville proclamation recognizing the volunteer service of David Martinez. Whereas, as the parent of 2 children in the Emory Unified School District, Dave Martinez has been a super volunteer and active supporter of the city's public schools for many years, including being a donor to the Emory Education Fund. And whereas Dave Martinez regularly volunteered in classrooms as well as in the garden program at Annie Yates Elementary School, and whereas Dave Martinez also stepped up and became a leader in the school community by serving as the Parent Teachers Organization for 2 years, as the president of the Parent Teachers Organization for 2 years, as well as serving as the president of the Dad's Club. And whereas he is a role model in how to be an active, engaged parent guardian in support of student academics as well as social emotional excellence. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Kurt Brinkman, Mayor of Emeryville, do hereby recognize the volunteer service of David Martinez and thank him for all the work he has done in support of our community's youth. And this was proclaimed on the 9th day of October 2013 by the Mayor of Emeryville. So this is for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment.
And may I see you on campus and by emails very soon. I'm really glad to actually now have a chance to connect with Dave, Mr. Martinez on another level. I'll send you an email, so for sure.
Any public?
Now, I just want to say, David, thank you for all your hard work, man. You are a star parent. You are the model parent for this district. And, you know, personally, I appreciate all the hard work that you put into the district and on the various committees. I mean, you've done everything practically but being up here on the board and being the superintendent of the school. So, I mean, you know this district probably better than most of us who are sitting at the dais. So I just want to thank you for all your hard work and congratulations. And I just hope that you have all the success in your next endeavors. And hopefully, won't be hopefully, but I'll see you again. Thanks for everything. Appreciate it.
Any public comment?
Oh, sure. Will be a wonderful time to ask any members of the public if they wish to kind of react or respond to you while you're sitting here.
Hello, my name is Ken Bukowski, a longtime community member, and I've met Dave many, many times, walking the neighborhoods, and always had good things to say about the district. Even when I had things that were contrary to say, he always had something good to say. And I'm happy that you're going to get this recognition. And now that I'm posting all these videos on YouTube, you will be able to, for the rest of your life, flash back on this moment and be able to refer to it. So thank you very much for your service.
Carol Bell, recently retired science teacher from Emeryville, from EUSD. Dave, I don't think I've ever met somebody who was as generous and giving as you were. What you did just for the science program in the garden, if you had done only that, it would have been huge in terms of the amount of time and the energy. I couldn't tell all of you how many times I'd be working on a Saturday and I'd pick up the phone and say, hey Dave, I could really use a little help. Do you have, he'd drop everything. He'd find a way. He'd get his tools over there. He'd fix things. He was always over there helping Leslie in the garden. There's so many things that just wouldn't be if Dave hadn't been there to help. And he was just always there, ready to just drop everything. And that was just a drop in the bucket compared to all of the things that Dave, you contributed to this district. So a couple of plaques don't begin to scratch the surface of what you've done. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Brenda Collins, Youth Development Coordinator for Irma Unified School District. And when I first met Dave Martinez, we were both parents in the district, and we did lots and lots and lots of things together. But there's one special thing that I wanted to share with everyone. When my daughter started college, and she was supposed to return to school one semester, and her ride fell through, and she is such a fashionista, and you need like a U-Haul truck just to get her clothes, and then another U-Haul truck for her shoes. But Dave found out that she didn't have a ride, and he showed up that Saturday morning and helped Brittany get back to school all the way to Monterey. Wow. And we always want to let you know how much we appreciate you.
Wow.
Well, I don't know that this meeting would be sufficient for you, but I think it is very clear that you have offered us more than, just the faith in our district with your children. You absolutely brought so much more and shared so much of yourself. And I think, we are at a loss. There's no replacing you, but we do hope that others out there will be as inspired, and through your children, that they will also, through their walk in life, will also be able to give such a gift. So we really do, honor you this evening and appreciate everything that you've done and what you brought to our district and to the families that are not here this evening. Everyone's benefited. So with that, I just don't know. This is just not enough.
Yeah.
We need to hold a banquet next time. Next time you'll be back, right? Yeah, you won't go too far. I know how to find you now. I work with you, so we're in good company. But if there's no other additional public comment on this, we will move forward with the meeting.
Thank you.
And thank you again. Thank you for being here. Thanks, Kevin, for bringing that proclamation as well. So we'll now move on to item E, public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on topics that are not on the agenda this evening. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tracy Lewis, a teacher and parent at Annie Yates Elementary School. And this evening, I'd like to ask the board to consider where we're placing some of our resources. As a teacher at Annie Yates Elementary School, I've seen a rise in students in the student success team caseload.
who are in need of intervention services. They are not performing so low that they are qualifying for SPED. They're not special ed students, but they are general ed students who are in need of more intensive interventions. And general ed is spread really, really thin. It's not that we're not collaborating. It's not that we're not differentiating. We are differentiating. But I do recall a time in this district where there was a math club, there was a reading club, there was a chess club, there was a science club, there were clubs for students who were accelerated, there were clubs for students who needed intervention, and when those resources disappeared, there is an increase in students with behavior issues, with academic issues. Our families, they all don't have the resources to go out and put their kids in tutoring or take their kids to these other places that have the interventions for them. So I'm wondering, what are we doing with the funds that are available for intervention? I'm also wondering what is going on with the elementary school having a PE teacher and a computer teacher. Those are two we really need that, and we need teachers to do intervention. At this time, we are collaborating with the special ed teachers who do provide us with consultations. We do consult with the with Ms. LaPlante and her team, and we do consult. However, something structurally needs to happen so that we can put those interventions into place, and without the bodies present to do that, it is extremely challenging, and for many of us, it doesn't happen. Case in point, I have third grade. There's one learning specialist assigned to second and third grade because her primary function is she's there for students who have special education needs. Well, when their needs arise, that time gets taken away. As a result, none of my children are getting intervention. None. They had intervention last year, and most of them, the 9 of them, 7 of them performed proficient and advanced. My question to this board is, where is the intervention for those children so that they stay proficient and advanced? And of those children, there are language learners. There are our children of color. There are our children who have different emotional needs and those things that get in the way. PE provides a way for that. Computer and technology in the classroom provides a way for that. And intervention provides a way for that. As a parent, if my son were to slip academically, I would bank on the school having something there. We no longer have that. So I am asking the board to really look into providing Annie Yates with an intervention teacher, a PE teacher, and a computer teacher to support all students doing excellent work. Thank you.
Any other public comment on items that are not covered on the agenda this evening? Thank you, Ms. Lewis. We'll now move on to reports. Are there any members from CSEA? Members from ETA? Or representatives, sorry. Annie Yates PTO? Emory Secondary School PTO? Superintendent's report.
Sure. So I just want to remind everyone that on October 17th, school sites will participate in the Great California Shakeout. Safety coordinator Ken Wright will give each site principal a copy of a soundtrack to play over the PA system for the drill. This is a long duck and cover drill that is played to a soundtrack, and it's really important that everyone participate in this. After the students finish that, they will go out to the open area and evacuate the building, and students will be accounted for as if this were a real drill. This is a all state of California school drill that's happening that day, and we're really looking forward to participate. So if by the way, if any of the community members or residents hear loud sounds over the PA system that'll be playing at the school sites, it's just a drill. So unless a real earthquake happens like it did last year. Anyway, the annual Emeryville Art Exhibition grand opening was Friday night, October 4th, and the exhibit runs through October 27th. And the arts community wanted us to encourage everyone to attend. The art exhibit is being held at 5699 Bay Street in Emeryville. That's right across the street from the Gap. Townsend Public Affairs confirmed for us, this was a question that came from the board at the last meeting, that the city of Emeryville was not chosen for funding for the federal COPS grant this round. Although it's disappointing, it's good news in a way, because we did apply. It makes us eligible for the next round. So only those applicants that submitted applications this round that were turned down will be considered for the next round of funding. So we're gearing up to apply for that, or the city is gearing up to apply for that. As Congress is in its second week of federal shutdown, I'd like the community to know that EUSD has not experienced any significant impact thus far related to the federal furlough days or anything of that matter. However, according to EdSource magazine, Head Start preschool, special education, and the school nutrition program, lunch program, could be impacted by this shutdown. I did speak with YMCA Head Start Director Pam Shaw, and she relayed to me that only federal Head Start programs, federal Head Start employees were furloughed, and since they did not have any, this program here is not affected. The school lunch program and our special ed program have not been affected by this thus far. However, unless if on October 17th, the debt ceiling isn't raised, it could have an impact here, but I'll keep you guys posted on that. And just so you know, also, I believe it was this afternoon or yesterday afternoon, the House did pass a sort of a temporary bill to keep Head Start open, so that is one piece of this that is a slightly positive news. And that's all.
Thank you, Dr. Lindo. I don't have a board president's report this evening. I would like to move on to item G, report out from closed session on September 25th.
The board met in closed session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation, and no actions were taken.
Item H, consent calendar. Are there any items board members would like to pull this evening? And that one includes the item 6, academic goals and educational priorities.
Right, is item 6 the one that we pulled?
I6.
No.
Oh, I6, I see. Yeah, no, I think it was fine. I think that the only question is, are there any public comments on I6 or on H6?
H6. So how about...
Why don't we go ahead and move 1 through 5, and we can
we'll
discuss
just
it
pull
briefly.
6, huh?
Just
Okay.
pull 6.
Okay, let's do that.
I move 1 through 5.
Awesome. Any
Second.
Any objections? None for me. So we've moved and we've approved items 1 through 5. Perhaps a roll call on those.
President Dice?
Yes.
Member Dwin?
Yes.
Member Simon?
Yes.
Thank you. And then item 6 we'll pull for 2013-14 academic goals and educational priorities.
I'm pulling the goals and priorities because it was discussed extensively at the last meeting, but we just wanted to make sure our tradition is to hold important things like this over for 2 meetings, just in case there have been any comments. I don't know to the degree staff has, or members of the public and teachers and parents have had a chance to look at it, but it does, just to highlight it, it does really emphasize the importance of focusing on some of the items that were discussed earlier, on particularly making sure that we're providing the support for teaching. It also focuses on attendance in school and making sure, because quite frankly, the funding, and I don't think we can say this enough, the funding for us to do what we do comes from attendance. When there's lower attendance, we have less funding to pay for the things we want. So looking for strategies to maintain attendance, proficiency in mathematics and language, student leadership and voice, which we continue to feel is an important piece of what we do. And looking at alignment with the Common Core standards and using the best practices and make sure we have the best materials available for teachers and students. Prioritizing the response for intervention, the RTI framework that we've been using, and making sure that those outcomes are focused on, and then parental involvement and doing what we can. Earlier tonight we talked about parental involvement, and that's a priority as well. And I think it's important to find ways to, not only because we can use the help, but also I think for students to be able to see their parents engage in education sends the signal of how important the work we do in the classroom is. And then communication, proactive, inclusive communication as one of our priorities. I think it's one of the areas of growth that we have, and that we want to continue to prioritize that. And then with the new funding proposal from the state, the local control academic plan, which is required by the state now, and because it is a requirement, because our funding's based on it, and because it focuses us on our teaching practice and on our community school, that is an additional priority. So that summarizes what was a 2-hour or an hour and a half conversation from last time, but I think since it's a core to our goals and priorities, it's worth saying it again for the record, and want to encourage people to look at this document, and that our actions will be guided by it over the next year. So that's all I had to say.
I just have a quick question, because I see we have some staff and at least one grandparent out there. Were you all aware of the academic priorities before tonight and what these goals and priorities were? Or is this kind of the first time hearing it tonight? Okay. Okay.
So again, this is exactly why we hold these things over for 2, to be able to get the word out. I think as part of going forward, we're going to be looking at more ways of, going beyond just having it at a meeting and posting it on the website. I think we need to find more ways to get it out, and that was discussed during the communications portion. We discussed having a rule of 5. So we have 5 different ways to communicate everything that we do, because not everybody listens on the same channel of communication. Not everybody attends a board meeting, not everybody goes on the website, but if we have different ways of communicating, you'll at least catch it on one of them. So I think that's, yeah, I'll leave it at that. There's, should I,
So just to make a comment on that, once these priorities and targets are established by you, each principal, as they give their presentations tonight, will not only talk about how they plan to prioritize these goals, but also the work that they'll be engaged in with staff to ensure that we strive to meet those goals. So you'll hear that this evening. And a big part of that will be communicating with staff and with parents about those priorities once they're approved by you.
Any other comments from board members on this particular item? Any public comment on this one? Yeah.
I was looking through the internet really quickly, but I will not say this is the first time we've heard of it. We have talked about academic goals and you know, the trajectory of where we're going. So it's not the first time that staff members have heard about it.
good.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Good, thank you.
Any additional public comment? Thank you. So we have, as board members, seen this maybe 3 times in different permutations maybe. Is there any other additional discussion on it? And shall we act this evening so we can move forward?
I'll move approval.
Second.
All right, no objection here, so I think that takes us 3. That's our vote, more or less. All right, we'll now move on to discussion items. And again, we've amended the agenda to follow I-1, 2, 4, 5, and 3. So we'll now move on to item I-1, which is approval of public disclosure of proposed collective bargaining agreement.
Yes, so the purpose of this item is to secure the board's approval of the public disclosure of proposed collective bargaining agreement as required by AB 1200. And our CBO, Mark Bonet, is here tonight to give the board an overview of this requirement and why it's essential for us for you to take action on this prior to approval of the collective bargaining agreement. Mr. Bonet.
These forms are required every time a school district agrees to a contract with their bargaining units, be it classified or certificated. And you should have seen these before with past negotiations and tentative agreement approvals. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But for the public, this document is proof that the district can indeed afford the settlement that we have on the table with our bargaining unit, and that we can meet our financial obligations for the next 3 years after this agreement goes into place. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Board members?
You want to explain or expound to the public what the agreement entails as far as?
That's the next item.
That's the next item.
That's the next item.
Okay.
This is just that we can fiscally afford the proposed agreement, and that we're able to meet our financial obligations over the next 3 years after this agreement goes into place. The superintendent and the CBO are required to sign off on this before it goes to the board, and that we have concurred that we can afford this year and the next 3 years.
And does this too, this also has to be, or it has already gone to the county, for instance, as another oversight layer, correct?
Yes, this was available more than 10 days before this board meeting, and before that, this did go to the County Office of Education for review.
Okay. Straightforward. Any other questions from board members?
Nope.
Are there any public comments regarding this particular item, this topic? All right, seeing none.
I'll
do I
move
have a-
approval.
Easy.
Second.
Awesome. I have no objections. Are there any objections? I should ask that. None. So we'll roll call. Great. Thank you, Ms. Tamery.
President Dice?
Yes.
Member Simon?
Yes.
Member Dwin?
Yes.
Thank you. So we'll now move on to item I2, approval of ETA and EUSD 2012-13 contract reopener tentative agreements.
Yes, so the purpose of this item is to approve the 2012-13 contract reopener tentative agreement with the ETA and the Emory Unified School District, 2011-14 bargaining unit agreement. Again, we have Marion Harrell, our HR director, here to answer any of the questions in the first part of the agreement, and we also have our CBO here to answer any of your financial questions associated with the document.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you have any questions?
Well, probably, I think just for the public's, it may be helpful to know what this means, or just if you can maybe procedurally what this means.
Just a brief summary.
Yeah.
Currently, there's a contract in place that went from 2010, I believe it is, 2011. Currently, there's a contract in place that goes from 2010 to the end of this year, 2014. And this particular round of negotiations opened up last year, prior year, 12-13. And with that, there were certain requests made by the bargaining unit, some requests made by the management, by the district, and the two parties came to agreement. And in summary, there were agreements on things such as, we were talking about a work day, so there's a pilot program in place this year. Should there be a true need to have a class that begins earlier in the day or a class that ends later, they've given us this 1 year to pilot it, should that be necessary. Then we moved into leaves. So this year, although it was done for the 12-13 year, going forward, we have now implemented what we call a catastrophic leave policy. And that came about because last year before, we had a number of staff who were out for really serious issues. And that brought about the concern for their well-being and them being able to sustain while they were temporarily out. So we worked very well with CTA to craft a catastrophic leave policy. There was a little bit of adjustments made to the child rearing leave. Whereas before, teachers could ask and maybe would have gotten some of the leaves, now they can have up to a semester or a second semester of child rearing leave, should that be necessary, and should they be able to afford that. There was a modest adjustment to the professional growth dollars that teachers can receive for their professional growth conferences or courses that they take or that they attend.
So the increase or decrease?
It went from 165 to 200. And there was a few other modifications to some of the other leaves, minor modifications to those. And there was in terms of salary, I want to work with the words increased payoff bonus, a 5% off schedule payment for last year. So this year, we would be looking at, there will be negotiations again this year, reopening either this year and or moving into the successor. So that's what these agreements are. ETA is in agreement with it. Their membership signed off on it. The membership has all voted to ratify it. So tonight we're here asking board approval.
So just kind of clarify the salaries. You said that was a 5% one-time bonus.
We called it off schedule.
Right.
People may equate it to a bonus or to a one-time payment. I'm just trying to pick the words that would just mean it's not ongoing. It's simply one payment for the 12-13 year.
Okay, thank you.
Based on those salaries.
Thank you for that explanation. Are there any questions from board members? Sorry. So quick, huh? Any questions?
I'll just make a comment that I really appreciate the teachers working with us because we've been in a very odd time with the state funding. The state funding has made its first major change in how we fund schools since 1982. And so we're all trying to figure out what it means and how much money there is. And we're all trying very carefully not to get in a situation which this district has gotten into in the past and other districts have gotten into, where we agree to things and then discover that the money is not what we thought it was. So I really appreciate the professionalism and the care and thoughtfulness with which the bargaining unit has worked with us, and we will continue to, as the realities of how schools are funded become clearer to us, we'll continue to do what we can to make sure that we support our teachers. So, thank you.
Echo.
Ditto.
So I would love to open this up to any public comments, if there is any, on this particular item before the board has action this evening. All right, seeing none, may I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
This is like easy. All right, and any objections? Are we going to do a roll call, please?
President Dice?
Yes.
Member Dwin?
Yes.
Member Simon?
Yes.
Thank you. And again, to echo what Vice President Simon said, is the hard work and focus in which the bargaining unit as well as staff has brought to this has been remarkable, especially where we were at different places earlier this school year even. So I think it's a sign of working well together, and so we hope to continue that tradition as we move forward. So thank you again. We'll now move on to the reorder of things. Item 3, which tonight will be the public hearing, determination of sufficiency of instructional materials.
That's correct. So the purpose of this item is to conduct a public hearing in compliance with Education Code Section 60119. This public hearing will provide members of the community the opportunity to comment on the sufficiency or insufficiency of instructional materials in the Emory Unified School District. Wait a minute.
I need to open.
She's got to open the hearing
Sorry,
first.
I had to find my paper.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
We have
I'm not
our Director of
electronic
Educational
tonight.
Services, Anna Allen, here also to make any comments.
So what I'll do first is open, and then
Yes.
I'd like to open the public hearing on the determination of sufficiency of instructional materials.
Oh, no.
At this time, ask if there's any comments from the public regarding the determination of sufficiency of instructional materials. And then I'll take on 5, I guess. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to
Number 5.
well, I have to open and I have to close. But if there's public comment, please. Right now is good. Yes, always. Oh yeah, we make 5 ways to do it. Working on this 5 thing on. So I like to close the public hearing. And so now we're just going to move to the actual topic. That you have to, yeah. I'm learning. It's only been like 11 years. But so we'll now move on to item 5, Resolution 5, 2013-14, sufficiency or insufficiency of instructional materials.
Yes, and so the purpose of this item is to adopt the resolution of 2013-14-5 as presented, finding sufficient of textbook materials and instructional materials. And I have Director of Education, Anna Allen, here to answer any of the board's questions.
So I'm here to entertain any of the questions of the board. However, I do want to state that in terms of Alameda County Office of Education, so as you all are aware that we had a Williams visit at the high school, and that what was not found is that we didn't have the Spanish 1 workbooks, which is what we adopted in terms of last spring as a new textbook adoption. And I think I brought that forward to you earlier in terms of the technicalities and what happened with the publishing company, so you all are just aware. This is just to give you a reminder. And while Alameda County Office of Education, they have their findings in terms of what is sufficient and what isn't, I would state in terms of our standards. What I do want to address is that, and just a reminder, because some of this is review information, is that in terms of our science, what you will have in the near future actually is a proposal that will come before you, because we know that in our science labs or our science curriculum, particularly 9 through 12, that we definitely want to make sure that it's up to par. And so a proposal will come in terms of having Dr. Balfe work with us, so we can actually think about how do our science programs transition to the new generation science standards. And so some of that scope of work will include her work in terms of a scope and sequence, K-12, particularly some of the core sequence 9-12, and support for science teachers in 6 through 8, and our new science resource teacher who replaced her, and also the new teacher in terms at the high school. So I think a lot of times we focus on, these are just, we have enough books for students, but I just want because it has come up before, I just want the board to know that this is something that we're looking at in terms of being very comprehensive in how we transition. And the same thing in transitioning to Common Core state standards. So just a reminder that the textbook adoptions this year is to focus on English language arts, 6 through 12, and the next one will be social studies, 6 through 12, and then mathematics. Because I know that was some questions that some of the board members had. And so I wanted to address those and then address any further questions.
But in terms of the textbooks that we're certifying tonight,
we have, yes, students have enough. When we certify,
the attachment said that we had everything.
Yes.
And so what you're discussing is proactive in the future, and I very much appreciate the look forward. But in terms of what we need today and what we're certifying in this motion, we have everything.
That is correct.
Now, so I assume the Spanish textbooks that you meant, the Spanish workbooks, are not part of this motion.
They're here. So they are part of this motion, but they are here. So that was
So you're just reporting that.
I'm just reporting out and giving you a follow-up.
We have them now.
Yes, that is correct.
Excellent. Thank you. That's my only question. I just want to make sure that we're certifying that everything is in place.
And we do have all the science lab equipment as well.
We have science lab equipment in terms of last year when I talked about that the teachers would do demo lessons, but I think in terms of our standards, we have to basically do, in my opinion, a rehaul, and that's why we're going to bring a proposal to have Dr. Balfe help us.
Right. Now, I think going forward, it's clear there are things we need to do to add, and particularly as we're switching to Common Core, the teachers are going to need other tools, and they'll come forward and tell us what they need so we can purchase it. But it sounds like in terms of the certification we have tonight, we have everything, which has not always been the case, so I really appreciate your diligence this year. It's excellent.
Yes, I must thank, she's out in the audience, is Diasa Quadir, who's worked a lot and been very diligent in terms of, we've been working on this for 3 years, I think.
I have to say, this is no small thing. It's taken years to get to the point to have all of the books all in place at this time of the year. So this is really a great accomplishment, and I really appreciate it. I think we really appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Any other comments? Sorry, I'm choking. Before you go, this is there's no additional comments from board. I'd like to open it up to public comment on this particular.
We actually got the Spanish books loaded onto an iPad card at the beginning of the year at high school, so they weren't without the books.
Okay.
I just want to make you aware of that.
Excellent.
Good.
If there's no other public comment, I'd move the item.
Second.
Awesome. Any objections? None from myself. Perhaps a roll call vote just to complete it tonight.
President Dice.
Yes.
Member Simon.
Yes.
Member Dwin.
Yes.
Thank you. And what I will say is that we're now moving on to item 5, and I need to excuse myself. I'm really sorry. I'm not going to make it.
I think item 5 is what we just voted on.
No, item 5 being item 3, sorry, school site presentations.
Got it.
Yes, the new 5.
The new 5. We're on to the new
Yes.
5.
Which is the new number 1. But,
So you take care of yourself, Trustee Dice.
thank you, thank you.
The purpose of this last item is for the board to gain an understanding of the focus areas of each school and how the school staff are addressing the district's focus goals, targets, and priorities for this year. In this presentation, you'll hear from Jagmeet Lathan, who is the principal of Annie Yates Elementary School, K-8, and then you'll also hear from Will Shavrin, Principal Shavrin. He'll be next from the Emory Secondary School.
So while Ms. Lathan is setting up, I just want to remind the board that in the principals' presentations today, they'll definitely focus on what is happening specific at their sites, but you all will have a formal presentation or like an in-service on 1, Common Core, 2, response to instruction and intervention. You will also have 1 in terms of an update, in terms of where we are with science, and also with English language development. So at this time, the principals will not address LCFF and LCAP because that's an issue that the district needs to address, and then we'll bring that forth to you in terms of what that plan looks like and what are the details of the of assembling that advisory board.
Do you know when we'll be getting those other plans to the board?
We have until June 30th, and we have to, it's a full plan that involves community engagement and involvement, and we can provide you with the timeline and give you the full plan.
Yeah, I can. So between November and December, you'll get the Common Core and the RTI one, and then in terms of the science, that'll be in the spring, and the ELD will probably be somewhere in March.
Okay, thank you.
So it'll give Ms. Miller some time just to gather more data for you.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so this evening I'll talk about some of the school goals in relation to the district goals or the district focus areas. And the 3 district focus areas are increased student attendance in school and class, student leadership and voice, and proficiency in math and English language arts. And so all of the slides and all of the information that I will provide to you tonight are based around those 3 areas. Okay, so increased attendance in school and class. I think for the elementary school is mostly in school, just making sure kids are at school and on time. In 2012-13, the average attendance was about 96%, and that's actually a pretty good average. What our concerns are of course, those 4%, making and keeping that number up and improving it, but then also working on the tardies. A lot of the kids cannot control what time they get to school if their parents are bringing them, but just really stressing to parents that having their kids to school on time every day is very important. I put it in the parent update and spoke with Wanda Hundley, and she's going to help with our SART process this year. Last year, Rodney, the retired teacher, did it, and it made huge improvements in terms of those 4% of students who did not come to school every day on time. So we're hoping to follow in that same manner this year. So the goal is to increase 97%. Ms. Parham, who works on enrollment and attendance for the school, pulls the attendance, and we go over it on a quite frequent basis in terms of what students are coming to school on time every day. And acknowledge students with perfect attendance and improved attendance. Last year, Ms. Miller worked with the ELAC the parents who participate on ELAC, and we did perfect attendance at least once last year, maybe twice, and so it's on the calendar, and we'll continue in that same vein. So the idea is to praise kids basically when they come to school every day on time, and to acknowledge them. And then the SART, which is what Ms. Hundley will work on with myself and Ms. Parham, will also help with that, and telephone calls home. Ms. Walker, who was the admin assistant for a few years, called families every day if their kids weren't at home, weren't at school every day. And so we want to continue with that. We're putting processes in place so we can do that. Student leadership and voice. This year we established an associated student body, ASB, and Ms. Brenda Collins is the chair of that. For 7th and 8th grade, they held, we had campaigning, elections. It was really awesome and promoted a lot of student leadership and voice. The students also will work on the following activities: the Harvest Festival, Winter Dance, 8th grade promotion, leadership mentoring from ESS ASB as well for our 7th and 8th grade ASB. We'll also have Peacemaker leadership training. It will start, I believe, on October 17th for 35 of our 3rd through 6th grade students. And that is basically an organization soul shop. I was introduced to them through a workshop at ACOE a few years ago, and they help students, they train students on how to be how to do conflict resolution.
Do we know how we're going to pick those 35 students out of the 3 grades?
Yeah, so the teachers basically send me a list of students, and they have a criteria. The students have to have great effort in class, and strong leadership skills, or they believe the student has the ability to have strong leadership skills, and a few other things. Gender, make sure it's ethnically diverse in terms of the leadership team for the 3rd through 6th grade students as well.
So at this time, we do have a 7th and 8th grade ASB?
Yes, and the students are here to speak, so they'll come up in a minute.
Okay.
And then also ECCL project with Anna Yates teacher students and Ms. Corey. I met with Corey in the beginning of school, so a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about a project with a couple of the Anna Yates teachers and some of our students. They may not be students with the that are participating in ASB, but to work on a project about the garden and really leading a project so that we can figure out ways in which we can continue the garden work when we go to ECCL.
Will that be started this year?
This year, yeah. All right, so is this the time when the ASB will come up? All right. Haley.
Oh, she's a star. I know Haley.
Yeah, she's the president of 8th grade.
Oh, she's the president?
Yeah.
Very fitting.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Haley Mack, and I am the Anna Yates 2013-2014 8th grade ASB president. This year we have the pleasure of having 7th and 8th grade ASB. And our 7th and 8th grade officers, for 7th grade, the president is Kiara Alexander. Vice President is Abdul Foloronzo. The Secretary is Jaskriyat Singh, and the Treasurer is Victoria Peterson. For 8th grade, I'm the 8th grade President. For Vice President is Livia Tafari. Secretary is Kalaya Acevedo, and Treasurer is Tiffany Hernandez. Each meeting we have discussion topics, and we learn leadership training. We feel like this is a great start in transitioning us into high school. Some of the things we work on are, we're currently planning the Harvest Festival, getting all of the prizes and games for the little kids together. And the drama club and some of the PTO are planning the haunted house. Some of the things, some of my ideas for this year are having some kind of electives for the 6th through 8th. I'd also like to have some kind of conflict mediation like the peacemakers for 3rd through 6th. And we also started talking about the fundraisers that we're going to have to get money for all of the winter dances and all the things that we want to do this year. And so we're going to have a bank account for the 7th and 8th. And whenever someone wants to take money out of that bank account, they will have a, what do you call it, a process where they fill the form out, and it goes through all of the officers. Yeah, and I'm really glad that we have ASB this year. I think it'll really help with, this year and all of the other students to come. Thank you.
Wait, hold on, wait a minute, Haley, wait a minute. Now, I am expecting for the ASB to invite board members to some of your meetings to talk about things and issues that you all have as students like we did last year, okay?
I will.
All right, so I'm open to that, so you just let me know and I'll be there, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Haley.
Darling. So cute.
Okay, proficiency in math and English language arts. The goal this year is for 80% of students or an additional 3 students per class. Will demonstrate mastery on monthly formative assessments. So about 2 years ago, we began to assess students more frequently to get regular information about how they're progressing, and we basically took that recommendation from Dr. Johnson from the National Center of Urban School Transformation, and it has helped tremendously in terms of helping teachers plan, helping myself and the school coach know where students are and if they've mastered standards. And then if they don't master standards, what are we doing about it? And that's something that we're working on this year, is to be more strategic in terms of how we're addressing those needs. Teachers and staff will continue to use the assessment data to inform their instruction. And the school coach, Ms. Colon, the classroom teachers and education specialists will collaborate and plan lessons to address student needs. So during collaboration time, it provides teachers an opportunity, because now the education specialists join them in the collaboration meeting, so it'll give them an opportunity to really plan around that. And that might take some time, but that's our goal.
So can you kind of illuminate on how we are addressing students who are not, through your assessment process, who are not up to proficient? How are we going about addressing those students so we can get them up to proficient?
Right. So we have a bulk of our students, which is not a bad thing, and however, we need them to be proficient, who are at that basic level, and I think that's the conversation that the staff that we need to start having, is how are we addressing the kids who are in that basic. We are fortunate in that don't have as many students as we've had in the past years who are far below basic, and this is measured on the CST.
Right.
However, we know that even during the 4-week assessments, those students typically, not always, but typically aren't mastering the standards at that time as well, right?
Right.
So to answer your question in terms of the students who are low,
Right.
That's what we're working. That's what our goal is this year. How are we actually addressing it? In the past, we've had focal students.
Right.
So teachers have 3 students that they choose to work with closely and have learning partnerships with. We have education specialists who work with groups of students. It's shifted a little bit this year because now the education specialists are pushing more into the classroom, which means they don't have as much time to do small group intervention with the kids who are gen ed, but they still work with gen ed students in the classroom and pull out.
But they're predominantly for special ed students.
It's predominantly for special ed because they're education specialists. However, they do work with gen ed students. And so in the RTI model, when it comes to the different tiers, that's a conversation we're having this year, is how do we strengthen that?
So what I'm hearing you say, we have not figured out an intervention strategy to address those students who are below proficiency.
I would not say we haven't addressed it. I feel this year we need to go to another level.
Okay.
Because we've been addressing it with the focal students, we've been addressing it with the Learning Center, and we've been addressing it with, for example, kindergarten. They get out at 1:30, so from 1:30 to 3, the kids who are not proficient or who need some skill building work with the kindergarten teachers. Ms. Miller pulls kids and works with them, so we do have structures in place, but we know we need to strengthen them.
And we're working on the how to get to that next level.
Yes.
Do you know when you can come back to the board with that how?
Yeah, it might take a few months, but I think so.
I mean, spring, I'm not, springtime.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also, Ms. Allen will piggyback. She'll probably see you all more often because she's helping to lead us in the, I'll do this because that's the RTI kind of framework, the sign, the symbol, but she's been working with us on the response to intervention as well, instruction.
Okay.
Actually, if I can just add to this. So earlier this evening, we heard about the need for an intervention specialist and possibly PE and computer. And I know we had an add-back list in the budgeting process, and I'm not sure where those were on the add-back. But when you come back, if you could, what I'd like to ask is, if we could look at maybe coming back a little sooner, because I'm concerned that a large part of the education year is going to slip by. And if we are in a position where we can bring back some of the resources we need, particularly given what you've just told us about, that we do have an issue, I want to make sure that we're not solving it, the week before testing starts. I'd rather that we work with budget and see if it's sort of an intermediate, even if it's just a short term, on a trial basis. The school year goes by so quick, and anybody we bring in is going to need time to come up to speed. So if we do something towards the end of the year, they're going to do it right before testing, and then the year ends, and we've lost another year.
Okay, so I'll work with Ms. Allen on that. What I will say is that it's definitely a conversation that I need to have with the staff first. As I walk through classrooms, what I see is that although we have a lot of students who are in basic, that's that tier 1, that teachers, if provided strategies, are actually able to boost those kids. And so, but again, I need to meet with the staff, meet with Ms. Allen, and really look at our RTI to see what's strong and what's not. So I don't want to say we have to have an intervention teacher today, because we need to really look at what's going on in the classrooms and in our RTI before I can say that.
So if it's possible, like either at the next board meeting or the board meeting after, to get some sort of report back. It could be very brief. It doesn't need to be complicated, but I just want to get some response from administration, because we've heard a number of things tonight about needs. We also heard from the ASB president about wanting
electives,
more after school, and we heard about the need for after school interventions as well as clubs for the more advanced kids. So I know these things are expensive, and I know we have to be judicious with our funds, and at the same time I want to make sure that the kids have the resources they need. So I understand it's a budget, but if you could give us some options to respond to some of these that are soon enough that it won't be at the end of the school year.
Okay, that's doable. Okay, so professional development. And I have this slide on here because in order to address Common Core standards, for example. It all boils down to professional development. And so basically, professional development at NEAs is led by Ms. Allen, myself, and Ms. Colon and the instructional leadership team. Ms. Allen is more on she works with me and Sharice in terms of Common Core. And then myself, Sharice, Ms. Colon, and the instructional leadership team, which are about 6 teachers, we work on planning the professional development for teachers.
So have we started that professional development for Common Core yet?
We have taken, yes, and it's a different approach.
Okay.
So as I've been going to a few trainings. And so last year, we had a couple of folks from ACOE come in and do like Common Core 101, like what is Common Core, what are some of the shifts, what is depth of knowledge. This year, we've started with pedagogical practices that are shifting versus necessarily some of the standards. However, we are getting into that. So this whole first semester is about unpacking Common Core standards.
So we haven't spent any funds on the Common Core for professional development for teachers as of right now?
You would have to ask Ms. Allen that, but not that I know of, but that's a Ms. Allen question. Okay, so Common Core state standards, that's our focus this year. In terms of we're shifting to a new set of standards and a new way of doing things. Uncommon CCS, I did not mean to put that. So anyway, we'll...
No, that's the Common Core standards are not so common.
Right.
That's the essence
that was a
of it.
typo, though. But standards, we definitely want to go over the standards blueprint, the depth of knowledge, shifts in pedagogy, smarter balance, and lesson study K-12, and that will be in the spring. Okay? And this is just an example of depth of knowledge. It's kind of similar to Bloom's taxonomy in terms of the different levels of critical thinking from the knowledge stage to application and synthesis. So the depth of knowledge is similar. And this is an area that we definitely need to focus on. What does it look like in the classroom? What does it look like in the instruction? What does it look like from students? So this is one of the major areas that we will be focusing on this year.
Okay, good.
And then also rigor relevance framework. It sounds like a lot, but the IoT and Ms. Colon and I, we met on Monday, and we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we put these two together? Because rigor is extremely important, and it's related to Common Core, but we want to make sure it's not segmented, but that it's like a continuous, it meshes really well. So when I walked through classrooms last year, I shared with my staff, I noticed, just like with your students when I taught, kids are on different levels. And I noticed that in order for all of us to move forward, we all have to be rigorous every day, all the time. And so that's why rigor is a part of our focus this year. And basically, each student is expected to learn at high levels. Each student is supported so he or she can learn at high levels, and each student demonstrates learning at high levels. And that's very important. We read, I bought the staff a book. It's called Rigor Made Easy. And our goal is to do book talks this year, however we can get it done. I'm looking, I have 2 IoT members in the audience. And then also relevant students are able to apply knowledge to real world situations. I'm having
So
some
do you
issues
feel we
with
need,
this.
does this framework right here needs to have more funding to get us to where you want to get with this framework? Because in some cases I'm hearing, with some of our students, they need more intervention. We have teachers that need a little bit more professional development. So I'm going to assume for us to get there, those 2 things, intervention and professional development, really has to be the focus. Would you agree or disagree, or what's your
Professional
thoughts?
development is a huge focus.
Right.
Yes, to get us to wherever we're going. We all have to be on the same page, and yeah, that oftentimes requires funding.
And so, I think it goes back to Member Simon, to come to the board to let us know exactly what you need so we can, make sure that the funds are there, especially, in this area of your framework, for professional development as well as intervention, whatever that is, and how you all.
Remember, Dwayne, I believe that's also the essence of the LCAP, if I'm not
That's correct.
mistaken. So
Right.
the LCAP has to come back to us separately, and just so that the learning, I don't want to speak in acronyms, but I might need some help with this. It's the
Local control?
Local control
Accountability
action plan, accountability plan, which is a specific plan because the state, as part of the new local control funding formula, has put specific money for this training. And so we have to have a plan that says specifically how we're spending those monies on this training to make sure that it happens. And we as a district are accountable to make sure these funds are used for this training and not for anything else. So, I believe that's coming to us when?
Earmarked funds. This is all part of the work that, as Ms. Allen said, we'll be bringing to you next month and next month and
There we
next month,
go.
every month.
Very good.
You'll receive ongoing information about this process.
And what I can say is that my feeling from the staff, just from conversations and questions about Common Core, is that people are ready and willing to make a shift. It's going to be a challenge in some cases because, it's something new for most of us, but we are in a great position because we've been working with the Silicon Valley Math Initiative for years. And so, for example, the SBAC, I can't think of what the acronym stands for.
Smarter Balance
that one,
Assessment.
Smarter Balance Assessment. They actually helped create that. And so some of the tasks that will be assessed are similar to the Mars assessments, and we've been given those for years.
Good.
So this year, we're working on, in terms of the pedagogical practices that I talked about, or the strategies, are number talks, Mars assessments, and re-engaging students in them, and problem of the month. Those are all things that will help with the Smarter Balance, help students access it. I went to a training today in Foster City with Silicon Valley Math Initiative, and people are trying to figure out how do we do this number talks thing school-wide? How do we implement Mars tasks school-wide? And that's something that the NEA staff has experience in, and have been experiencing doing this for years. Now our task is, and I talked to the staff, how do we get exceptional at it? Because right now we're good at it, and people have come to our school to look to see other principals. How do you do this? How do you implement this? But how do we as a staff become exceptional in every classroom? And that's what we're working on this year.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the assessments have to be done to really be able to drill down for the intervention. And for me, my perspective is that once we have those assessments, the drill down of intervention is where it all lies. So once we have those assessments, we really need to dig into how do we intervene.
So you're saying the formative assessments every 4 weeks. Once we have the information, once we know where students are, what interventions are in place for those students. I agree.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you all have any questions?
I've been asking them.
I have to say, this is a very, very good presentation, and
Thank you, Ms. Lathan.
really appreciate it. And this is a great one. I don't know if people have, is this on Prezi?
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know if people
Ms.
have
Lewis showed me how
Prezi
to do
player.
it.
It's a great technology, and it lays out the goals much better than I was able to earlier. So I think this is a wonderful way to present it, and so I think one of our 5 ways we'll be putting it on the website. But if there are opportunities to present this to the parents and to the Annie Yates community, I hope that you'll take advantage of that.
Okay.
But it's very well done. Thank you.
You know, and I guess the only statement that, you know, I would have, kind of relating to what Member Simon said earlier, is that, you know, that you would come back, you know, late December, early January with the how of the intervention and, you know, what's our strategies and implementation for that, for those students who are below proficiency.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Great job.
Let me just briefly ask, are there any public comments on this for Ms. Miles?
Oops. Just brief, first of all, Audrey Miles, Anna Yates, first grade teacher. Just to add briefly to what Jag said, one of the other things that we have that's really important is the after-school program, and that is the drama club, which just started. It started last week, and a product of that was our Miss Haley Mack, who is also now our student council. So it also goes to show you how the arts do help with other skills, such as public speaking, and Haley is definitely a leader now in the after-school drama program. As well, continuing this year will be the Emeryville Police Department, who will be doing the buddy reading program, and that is one of their community projects that they work with us for the last 8 years. I wanted to make sure that that was noted because the community involvement piece is really important in what makes Anna Yates has a good, strong community relationship with the police department, the senior center, and other groups. We also just found out from them today that they want to partner with us to work on a food drive for starting in November. So that's important because that's a community involvement piece that helps our kids know where they came from, what they need to do to be a part of the community. And as well, the last piece is the Civic Pride organization. We're going to try to continue that. We have at least 12 students. That's also part of Anna Yates' program that extends to the community and civic engagement. That piece will involve the students working with Carol Tobit this year. There won't be a conference, but the students will be doing community engagement, such as the elections and other things. So just to note that as additional things.
When does that start, the Civic Pride piece?
This year they will not be doing the conference, but they will be working with the 12 students who were elected in the previous year. Mr. Simon's daughter is also still part of the leadership group. They will be working with other schools within Oakland and other areas to do community involvement pieces.
Will there be a banquet?
There will be no banquet this year. Funding does not allow, but we'll be doing other things with elections and other upcoming community involvement pieces.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tracy Lewis again. As you can tell from Ms. Lathan's presentation that we are actively working toward Common Core and making the transitions. So as she comes back with that how-to and works with us, know that it's already on our mind. We're already doing the assessments. We are, to reiterate what she says, we're already doing the work. The staff is motivated. We're charged. We're doing it, but we want to be exceptional so that our scholars can be exceptional. So we will need additional supports in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was helpful. Any other public comments? Okay, let's go on to
Mr.
the high
Chavron.
school. Mr. Chavron. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Right, so that works. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm William Chavron. I'm the principal of Emory Secondary School. And today I'll be giving a fall presentation, and my focus areas will be attendance, proficiency in mathematics and reading, language, arts, student leadership and voice, parent involvement, athletics, and our Berkeley City College and ROP courses. Okay, so our attendance, the target is to maintain 96% or better this year. And so some of the things that we are doing to address absences, first of all, we have eTruancy, who generates letters that are sent out to the households. And the letters are sent out when there are 3, 6, and 9 unexcused absences. If a student gets to 6 unexcused absences, then of course they'll have I have an informal conversation where I will invite the students into my office and really speak to them about the importance of attending school, the value of school, and what happens in the next steps if they continue to be absent. During the third notification, at this time, the student has 9 unexcused absences. We bring in Ms. Walker, our data and registrar at our school, Ms. Walker. We bring in the parents, we bring in myself, of course, we have our counselor and the student, and we discuss what are some strategies that we can use in order to get the student to school on time, and what can we do to build an interest and give value to their education. And then some things that come up from that are maybe a student needs a Clipper card or a BART card, or there's a financial issue. Some students don't have alarm clocks, so if we provide an alarm clock, or the parents go and buy an alarm clock, students have come back saying they're coming back on time. We've addressed the absences, and students are really coming and talking to us, thanking us for that simple. Sometimes it's that simple. Other times, there are household issues or things that occur, and then we're able to use some of our teams that I'll be talking about later to address those concerns. So addressing tardies, inside of our classrooms, our teachers basically are able to address those tardies. And one of the ways they've done it is by improving the value of the first 15 minutes of class. So, of course, we have our warm-up. There's value points that students can get if they are there for the warm-up. If they're not there, then they lose those points, as well as just understanding that's where it's going to be the most interest, a very interesting, very exciting part of the lesson. So, students want to be on time.
Can I ask you a question? Do we know the percentage of tardiness that we have in our high school among students?
I don't have that information.
Can you come back with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And the other question, the high school is at 96% ADA?
That is
attendance?
Yes, to maintain that.
Average daily attendance?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So some incentives that we have to address attendance are the Perfect Attendance Award that goes on at our academic rally, as well as just, as I said before, just really, we're actually discussing in our attendance meetings what are other incentives that we can have. But one of the main things is their academic career should be important enough, and so we have those conversations about that. If it gets to it, we do have a SART team, and as well as we have our School Attendance Review Board, the SARB team, and we really try to interrupt this deficiency before it becomes or gets to the board. But we do have those in place, and Ms. Walker, myself, and our counselor, Mr. Patterson, serve as the SART team. And on the board, we actually include the district attorney. We include the Emeryville Police Department, and then they'll be sent over to the district attorney's office.
Can you explain what that is, SART?
SART?
Yeah.
So that is the School Attendance Review Team, and that's where we bring them in. And this is actually on site. We bring them in, and that's where we have that discussion about what strategies we can help with or implement in order to get the student to school. Okay. And then, of course, after that, it goes to SARB.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so the next is proficiency in mathematics and reading language arts. One of the targets is for at least 16 out of our 20 students will meet or exceed benchmark on each formative benchmark assessment. So at this time, we've moved to block scheduling, and this allows our teachers more time to meet student needs. Our teachers were actually trained by the Bureau of Education and Research last year as we prepared for moving into block scheduling. We also have committees and teams that address whatever student needs that we have on our campus, so this allows time for us to have those opportunities to meet, as well as I talked to students about it, and they were saying that they appreciate teachers have more one-on-one time. And, you know, if you don't understand something, you have small group learning, and you also have one-on-one time to actually master master the skills. Also, it allows the teachers to use multiple strategies in a lesson to include multiple learning styles. And so that was something that, as one of the students were explaining what they liked about it, as they said, it's not just a lecture, or it's not just, you know, one style per class. They actually can do 3 different styles of teaching within the 100 minutes that the teacher has. Something else, as we talked about Common Core, we're in the beginning stages of Common Core. I actually pulled some information, just 2 quick quotes off of Common Core State Standards Initiative website, and that's the standards establish a staircase of increasing complexity in what students must be able to read so that all students are ready for the demands of college and career level reading no later than the end of high school. That's something that I've shared with the staff, and that's what we want to kind of serve as our base right now. Why are we moving to Common Core? What is it all about? As well as in mathematics, where our teachers are going to the Silicon Valley Math Initiative, just as the NEH teachers are. In mathematics, the high school standards set a rigorous definition of college and career readiness by helping students develop a depth of understanding and ability to apply mathematics to novel situations, as college students and employees regularly do. So, as I said, that serves as our base. And right now, we have Alameda County, which is providing a training for our staff on Wednesdays. We have Ms. Allen that is also assisting with our Common Core process. And I've been going to a few trainings as well. But our teachers are researching online best practices for Common Core. They are also taking online courses to improve their practices, as well as this year we are studying and implementing strategies, as I stated before, and then we're also talking about how as we study and learn, how we're going to implement them. So I think one of the questions that came up earlier, you know, as we are moving into proficiency for mathematics and reading language arts, it's taking a little bit of time, but by, as you stated, coming back in November, coming back in January, I think we'll have some pretty good data to share.
Do we know where we are now with the benchmark? I mean, we want to get to 80%. Where are we now? Do we know?
At this time, we I don't have that.
Okay.
Nope.
If you could come back with us with that as well.
Absolutely.
Just to see where we are in the gap.
Right. So right now, what we have for our, well, actually, I'm going to talk about the RTI, then I'm going to talk about the assessments, because we do have our plan to implement the benchmarks, as well as the data that we're studying in order to address where we are and how we can get to proficiency. All right. So this year, we've moved into creating the structures for RTI, and right now we have We have our RTI teams and committees that meet, and the idea is that they study the current campus data, and as we study, we find strategies to address the challenges that we find. We roll those findings out to staff and make decisions, as well as we study the progress of our decision making. So we have 4 different teams that serve under our collaboration team, and then we also have 4 different committees. And so I'll give you a little bit of information about each of those teams that we have. So we have a collaboration team where the members are key decision makers on our campus. These are staff members, directors, teachers who have a strong relationship with the students. They have knowledge of how to make decisions and that impact the entire campus, and they share the vision of the district. On this team, we decide on placement of the referrals, study the data to inform our decisions, and find best practices for behavior, academics, and social progress. So the idea is we have a collaboration team at the top, and then under the collaboration team, we have 4 different teams. So as I stated in here, there's a referral that a teacher may have. They may refer a student for, as I said, attendance, or they may refer a student for something that they're lacking in academics, or they may have some sort of social issues or challenges that the teachers recognize, so they would give a referral to myself. I would bring it to this collaboration team, and then we'll talk about what team we need to give this referral to in order to address the needs of the students. So
when you say referral, where are they going after they get the referral?
So it's not a negative behavior consequence referral. It's actually a referral of concern.
I guess where I'm going with this, what kind of resources are we referring them to get the help that they need?
Absolutely. So I'm glad you asked that.
Okay.
All right. So we have 4 different teams, and those teams are the instructional leadership team, the coordination of services team, the behavior management team, and the intense intervention team. So just quickly, the instructional leadership team is our entire teaching staff. We're small. We have a small number of teachers, so there's no need to pool a small number of teachers, and we're small. So the entire staff serves as our instructional leadership team, and pretty much if there is, so right now what we're doing, we've actually broken out into what our team structure will look like, what are the different things that we're going to study. So do we want to do, or we're just discussing vertical teams, revolving teams, and subject area teams, as well as we're talking about team outcomes and goals, or deciding on team outcomes and goals. And the 4 that the staff chose today are implementing common articulated instructional strategies, creating many formative assessments that work for students, student engagement, and making learning visible. So those are the 4 things that our instructional leadership team has decided that we want to study within our PLC groups, and we're going to, as I said, study and make those decisions as a team and actually use those strategies inside the classroom. We also have the coordinations of services team that consists of our wellness staff, our nurse, of course the director of wellness, our school counselor, and the principal. And this team actually pulls together all of the services that we provide on campus, including the Family Resource Center for if there's families that have, as I said, there's challenges that our students face, and if it's something where the Family Resource Center can help, Wanda actually serves on this team as well. And so, as stated, if they get a referral from the collaboration team and it lays out everything that the challenges are, they go in, or we go in, we study it, and quickly study it, and we come up with the best solution. All these different members are able to contribute, as opposed to having a counselor working with the student and then having the wellness work with the student, and having myself work with the student, and we're not coordinating our efforts. So this team really serves for things that are beyond the classroom, and so that's the value. There's a great value to each of the teams, but one of that right there really talks to some things that we felt like we didn't have control of before. Now they're able to go beyond the classroom and assist. We have the behavior management team, and this team consists of teachers, counselor, myself. Ms. Allen also serves on this, but this team really takes what the referrals are, not just the number of referrals, but really studies why are the students getting the referrals, why are the students not in the classroom, or suspensions or whatever else, and comes up with different strategies to, is it the time of day, is it the period, is it the subject, what is it, they study those patterns. They also study, as I said before, what are the types of referrals, who are the people who are getting the referrals, and all of those things, and then come up with different strategies in order to increase the instructional minutes for the students where they're not being outside of the classroom. And then the last team, as I said, is the intense intervention team, and this is where the academic challenges throughout the campus go to this team. And from this team, most of the time we have SSTs. We decide to do SSTs. Sometimes we have 504s meetings that we talk about and bring parents in, and then other supports that may be needed come from the intense intervention team. So really creating, as I said, creating a structure where we can support all of the students' academic needs, behavioral needs, as well as their social needs. And then, of course, as I said before, we have our instructional leadership team that talks about our assessments and the creation of our benchmarks. Right now, we have our first marking period just ended, and we have our GPAs that have come out, and so that can serve as data that we can study. How many students do we have below a 2.0, and then we can actually dive into that group and figure out why is it that they are achieving below a 2.0. And from a quick glance, I just got the data before I came here. At a quick glance, we have decreased the number of students with below a 2.0, which is strong for our campus. But of course, that's not the only data that we study in order to think about the progress at the end of the year.
You know, since you just mentioned it, how are we doing with, how's the data look for those behavior issues that you're talking about that we refer, that we will refer out if students have those, behavior issues? How are we doing with those?
So this has actually been a 3-year process, thinking about 3 years ago where the idea was for us to decrease referrals, right. And we're actually at a point where we're not really paying as much attention to decreasing the referrals, but we are paying attention to, I didn't mention that this team is also studying character programs, so behavior character programs, things to be preventive, proactive.
So I'll state it another way. How are we doing with our suspensions? Is that decreasing?
Yes, yes. Okay. That has decreased. Okay. But of course, the idea is to decrease that, but also implementing those, being proactive in this. So we've gotten to that point.
Well, I would think that those referrals would help with suspensions, especially around behavior.
Correct. And identifying it as not as a lashing out or disruptive behavior being suspended for, but actually a cry out for help.
Right.
And how do we provide
exactly.
that? Okay. So we have student leadership and voice. What we will do is have Bria Williams-Moeller come forward and talk to you.
Good evening, President, Board of Trustees, Superintendent, and all who are in attendance tonight. My name is Bria Williams-Moeller, and I have been appointed as the student representative to the Board of Trustees. I also serve as the Secretary and Treasurer of the freshman class. I am here tonight to talk about student leadership. Currently, we have 24 students who participate in student government. We take 3 leadership classes supported by Youth Together and 1 ASB meeting per week during A period Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. In class, we learn leadership and organization skills to help us better become student leaders and role models for our peers. In leadership classes and ASB meetings, we are working on fundraising, homecoming plans, public speaking, and student involvement. In class, we are reading in front of each other, which helps us practice on how we present ourselves and our school when it comes to speaking. Student involvement is a really big item that comes up a lot during our meetings. Strategizing on how to get students out of ASB to step up and unite together as Emory Secondary students. Our ASB officers include ASB President Vanessa Acosta, 12th grade President Antonia Fraser, 11th grade President Eliza Pettis, 10th grade President Ray Corona, and 9th grade President Michael Bell. I look forward to serving the board and my peers as a student representative and bringing information, inquiries, and suggestions from our student body. Thank you.
Oh, okay. But I mean, hold on. I just have one question. When will you be sitting on the dais?
Next meeting, 23rd.
The 23rd.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
And I should note that Ms. Williams is another product of our drama program.
Okay.
There you go. As well as many of the other great programs at NE8. So,
Miss Lewis, a student.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it is a pleasure to see Ms. Williams joining us on the board.
She was my student, too.
Right? Well, goodness. Now she's my student. Okay. No, but very good. As stated, Ms. Williams is a great product of the entire district, and you know we are very accepting and very gracious that we have her on our campus. And she is a freshman, so you know that speaks a lot about our freshmen, our freshman class, all of our students. But we have a freshman that's serving on the board and came up here and spoke very well. So. Very proud of her.
So my question, Mr. Chapman, how are we going to select students to be on all these committees? What's going to be the criteria?
Okay. So right now,
And can we fill students on all these committees? I guess that should be the question.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what we have right now, so go ahead.
Yeah, come to the mic.
Introducing Brenda Collins to the stage.
Okay, so I'll just fill in a couple of the blanks. So there are students from the leadership teams that are sitting on all your committees now. You have the school board, all the committees that he was talking about that we have throughout the school.
So, okay.
And they are sitting on there. Okay. So what we did is once we did our leadership and our elections, we selected the kids that, you know, first we talked to them about what is expected of them, and then we did a little training, and then those that are the best qualified are the students you will see.
So we're going to have students on the Athletic Safety Committee, the WASP Committee, the School Site Council Committee, the LCAP Program Development,
School Site Council,
City Schools.
Done.
Will we have our City Schools members soon?
Done.
And COC?
They'll be at the next meeting?
Done.
Excellent.
Okay.
So just so you know, if you remember last spring when we began this planning as a result of the Youth Engagement Day, the goal was to do this leadership development and build capacity with the students first before we brought them forward to you.
Right.
So, and that's the work that the leadership class has been involved in, and the naming of the students, the getting them ready, and they've just done a fantastic job, K-12, of working on this, particularly with the
So not only are the students sitting on all the community seats as well as the school board, but they are also sitting on this monthly meeting. Once a month they meet with they're sitting with the committees throughout the school as well.
Okay, good. Great job. Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the process, as they stated, we have a leadership class that works with the ASB, and most of our ASB makes up most of that class. What they do in order to include all of the student body, their voice, they will go out and give surveys, class surveys. They have class meetings, and it's led by the ASB members. This group meets 4 times a week. And so, as they all stated, it really builds capacity where they can be contributing members on these committees, on these teams, and these boards. Because the worst thing is for them to be on there but not participate. So we really want to build a strong participation among these students on these teams and board. I didn't get a chance to talk about the committees that we have. We have the athletic committee. We have the safety. We have, of course, as you see here, WASC. We have SSC. But we also have student activities committee, and it does say on there safety. So on the committees, the students will, some of the stuff that we talk about is sensitive information, and we have to make some decisions or whatever. But we actually have, for each of the committees, we've selected 1 meeting a month that we will include students to come and give their voice and be there for the entire meeting, and really, we'll give them different things to think about, discuss, and give their perspective before we actually make those decisions.
And I'll extend the same invitation to the high school clubs, committees, ASB. They would like to have board members come and speak to them regarding or just hear some of their needs. I'm more than willing to come to a meeting.
Got it. Thank you. And then just at the bottom, we have Youth Together, which is a program that works with building those leadership skills within our students, alongside Ms. Brenda Collins, and they're doing an incredible job. As you walk in there, you see some really good things going on as students prepare for going out into the community, their school community as well as the Emeryville community. So it's pretty dynamic. Right now, parent involvement, the target is to comply with requirements for parent involvement in site decision-making committees. Right now, we have our school site council. I'm starting at the bottom. We have our parent-teacher organization that met one time last month, and then this month they'll be meeting on October 16th. At our parent-teacher organization initial meeting, we had a potluck, and we had a number of parents come out. We selected on the leadership, who was going to be the president, vice president, and I believe they did come and speak with you all, introduce themselves to you all at the previous board meeting. But we have some pretty incredible parents in our community. We have some new parents who've stepped up. We have old parents who continue to step up, and then we have parents who are starting to get involved. So a lot of that as well is on Ms. Collins, and she's been really rallying the parents to come on out. At our next PTO, we will be deciding on our school site council leadership team. And so that's where they will be voting, as well as we're looking to have our first school site council meeting on November 20th. And that's a tentative because it's up to the members of when they're available, but we're shooting for November 20th. And then the English Language Advisory Council, I believe Kim Miller is going to come and speak later on about that, but we are actively recruiting parents to be on that board as well.
I think you also need to add, the LCAP committee as well, because parents are supposed to be on that committee as well. And I will ask a question from one of our board members who is not here tonight, and I actually meant to ask Ms. Lathan this as well, but the question is, how do both sites plan on building a robust parent engagement to sustain a strong school site council, as well as have parents involved in the LCAP program, or the LCAP committee, I'm sorry.
Okay, so how do we plan to, what is the plan to increase parent involvement?
Right, and have it sustainable, robust, and sustainable, especially for the school site council and the LCAP committee.
So I think both principals can talk about the school site council, but the LCAP, as I talked about earlier, is a responsibility of the district because it's a district advisory council. So when we come back with the plan, we'll talk about how we're recruiting parents and how the current structures for the parents, how they'll receive feedback. Because I'm not sure if you all have been, I know Mark Bonet has come and talked a little bit about the 8 areas, and one of the areas, when you look at actually the process or the flow chart, some of it is you have parents that are actually on the LCAP. Another part of the process is that you go to your existing parent groups, like your school site council, your DLAC, and then they give you feedback. So I think that will be answered more when we come back with the full plan.
So I think the point that Member Dwin is getting to, and the point that Member Affelt has brought up as one of the people who designed the funding formula in the first place, has been that in this new funding for schools, parent involvement is a critical piece of it. So we're going to have to change the way we operate to be more inviting and more welcoming, and to scaffold parent involvement in the same really extraordinary way that you've scaffolded student involvement. So I think that's looking for how we're going to do that is the critical.
That is correct. And so if I have to wear this sign on my neck over and over, that's exactly why I continue to bring back that framework with Joyce Epstein. There's 6 different ways of parent involvement, and what we're talking about right now is just one component of the 6. It's decision making. So that's one component of parent involvement. The PTO provides a whole different level of parent involvement. So I think as we start to use that framework and that language, then it'll be crystal clear in terms of where parents are involved, because everyone will not be involved in an LCAP.
Well,
you'll have parent representatives.
And that's what, I think that's what we want.
Oh, exactly. And so with the LCAP, the LCFF, that's at a district level, and when we bring that back to you, you'll understand the 8 areas. Again, we'll go over that, and we'll also talk about the timeline and actually the process that California Department of Education has.
So let me ask you this: what's the regularity of the school site council meetings?
So school site council meetings meet once a month. Okay. That's the required time, is just to meet once a month.
Okay. So I would like for staff to at least once a month just come back and tell the board that the school site councils are meeting or have met, and just basically, what the agenda looked like.
That's fine. And give a brief synopsis of what occurred. That's fine.
Okay.
I also want to point out a practice that, Mr. Shavin, that you've done in your presentation here, and I'd like to just highlight this. As parents get more involved, and as a whole new language of acronyms roll out, it's very easy for people to get turned off to getting involved because ELAC is just not a term that is commonly heard. So by spelling it out the way you have and putting in parentheses, it's from a communication standpoint, you're giving access. I would ask as we go forward in all of the presentations, because we put these on the website and then we expect people to understand them, if it just said ELAC there, somebody going onto the website's going to see ELAC and say, oh, gee,
may not know. Yeah.
This is above my head, and turn it off. So spelling things out like that and communicating is very helpful. Thank you. Good job.
All right, so this year, I believe I stated it last year, wanting to revise the eligibility process and procedure for our athletes. Last year we had a lot of athletes. Over 50% of our student population were athletes, and really wanting to push them to, of course, meet the challenges that come on the field and on the courts, but also meet the challenges inside the classroom. And so we actually have an athletic committee that consists of a teacher, Ms. Walker, who is serving as support with athletics, and myself. And we really sit down once a week and we discuss or study the data of where our athletes are when it comes to GPA and those types of things, as well as talk about what are some policies that we need to put in place or things that we need to put in place in order to push them even harder. And so at this time, as I stated in my first glance at the GPAs, we've decreased the amount of students that are below 2.0, but it was a difficult decision for us in talking about our eligibility requirements. And so we maintained it being at a 2.0. We were discussing moving it to 2.5 and all of that. So I think eventually, hopefully by next year, we'll be able to actually push that. But for right now, it made more sense to kind of keep it where it is, and then but consistently speak with our coaches about motivating the students to reach a 2.5, reach of course above that, but not fall below a 2.5. And before it was just if you get a 2.0, no matter how you got the 2.0. But we noticed that students were able to get, more than one F and still have a 2.0. So that was something that we were able to study and say, oh, okay, well, that's something we'll change. So at this time, if you get, actually, you can't get more than one F. If you get one F, that's not okay. And then we have academic probation for the students who have one F. But if you have more than one F, you're not eligible. And so academic probation, of course, you'll be on academic probation for one marking period, which is 6 weeks. And within that, you'll be doing study hall for an hour and a half after school. And sometimes that cuts into the practice time, but they understand it's a reason why they're missing out on practice time or whatever else. So that's understood, and it's a contract that's signed by parents, students, and of course myself. And so I haven't seen any strengths or challenges actually at this time, because we just got the information today, and tomorrow, October 10th, is the day that I will be saying who's eligible and who is not. So I'm sure tomorrow I'll have a lot of challenges with this if we have students that fall under the ineligible list.
So how are we doing with intervention at the high school and working with those students that are below proficiency? I mean, is there a need for intervention? Do we need to, as a board, look at funding intervention at the high school as well?
Absolutely. But as I spoke about the teams before, the intense intervention team,
right.
That's the team that actually is studying, why are our students not achieving at a high level, as well as our instructional leadership team. The entire staff is studying how we can move the students to proficiency.
Okay, so we haven't got to the how of the next level
Correct.
As well. Okay.
And then some really good information speaking about the Berkeley City College partnership and the ROP courses that we now are able to offer to our students, and just different relationships that we're building outside of our campus. So the target is providing more opportunities for students to participate in college level and ROP courses. Right now we offer English 101 and English 21 as courses on our campus. And those courses are recognized by UC and CSU. So we have the we have a spring proposal for after-school courses, and we've spoken with Berkeley City College, and they are very excited to offer a certification program for our students, starting at the junior class. So our juniors and seniors will have the opportunity to take BCC courses, and it's a 24-unit program, and they will receive certification at the end of that. So by the time they graduate from high school.
What form of certification?
So it will actually be 1 year that they've completed for college course. So when they graduate
for any major, no specific
no
concentration.
Right. No. It's not. We haven't made it to that point yet. But a way that we'll be able to do this is where we'll be able to increase the amount of courses that we offer during the day. Right now we have 2. We'll be able to increase the amount of courses during the day, but as well as we'll actually implement an opportunity for our students to take courses after 4 p.m. So our campus will be open to our students taking college courses after 4 p.m.
And you'll receive you're going to receive a full presentation of this partnership on December 11th, and Chancellor Ortiz and President Budd from BCC will be here as part of that presentation, that both staffs from our end and from their end will give that presentation on that partnership.
Great. Now, just one other question is, will parents be eligible to participate in those classes?
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely. So it's an incredible opportunity for the entire community, but of course our students.
So at this time we're offering, BCC classes, English 101, and what's the other one?
English 21.
Okay. Thank you.
And the last thing, we have ROP courses, we have culinary arts, graphic arts, and we have biotechnology. And so the culinary arts and graphic arts courses are being offered at Albany High School, and the biotechnology course is offered at Berkeley High School. And so going into next semester, we want to increase those opportunities for our students to take culinary arts, graphic arts, those ROP courses, and reports from the students at this time is that these are some of the most interesting classes that they're taking. They're really able to, they get involved. They let me know the different things that's going on the campus, and it's exciting to see the smiles on their faces just being offered these opportunities. So right now we have our seniors that are attending these ROP courses.
Okay, you answer my question. How many students do we have in the ROP program? Do we know?
Right now we have 10. That's due to seats that were available, thinking about Albany and Berkeley High. But I have been speaking with the principals in wanting to increase our seats, and it was just a matter of timing. So they have said that they can increase the number of our students attending those classes.
Great. And we've been involved with this ROP program for some years now, about 5-6 years?
Absolutely. And we offer the computer courses on our campus.
And this is Contra Costa's ROP program, not Alameda's, right?
Yes, Contra Costa. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
You can ask some questions after.
All right.
Thank you, Gary.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Very comprehensive presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Chevron.
Are there any questions or comments from the public on this presentation? If not, then I close this item, and the Superintendent, do you have any last words?
Just to review the calendar very quickly, and I think we'll be able to adjourn the meeting.
Very good. Thank you very much. And thank you. I just want to thank both the principals for your time and effort. I know your days start very early in the morning, and we're here now at 8:30 at night, so it's a very long day. So I very much appreciate your the level of detail and thoughtfulness and care in your presentations, and it's helpful both for us and for the public to be able to hear them both tonight and through the broadcast of these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's now move to Miguel. Do you have any board reports?
No.
No. No announcements. If there's no announcements, then we'll go to calendar review.
Yes. So let's see. The Finance Committee will meet on October 16th. The Curriculum Committee will meet on October 23rd, right before the board meeting on October 23rd. Facilities Committee meeting November 6th. City Schools meeting is November 7th. And just so everyone knows, in November and in December, November 13th and December 11th, we only have one meeting. So for the rest of the year, there are only 3 board meetings left.
So we have one in November and one in December?
That's correct. And the December meeting is our reorg meeting.
What date is that?
The 11th. And the Peralta Community College will be here as well. And that's it for my calendar review.
All right. And we do not have any items to discuss in closed session.
Those have been pulled.
So we are not having closed session. And with that, at the incredibly early hour of before 8:30, I call this meeting adjourned.
This is a first. This is a first.